My name is Emerson. I'm 31 years old, and I used to believe that if you kept your head down, worked hard, and stayed honest, people would respect you for it. I was wrong. I work, or used to work, at Nexera Innovations, a mid-stage tech startup based in Austin, Texas. We specialize in predictive AI systems for e-commerce platforms. Cutting-edge stuff. Smart systems, dumb people. The company was growing fast, and I had been with it since the early days. Employee number 12. I knew every brick in that building, every bug in our codebase. And most of all, I knew NovaX. NovaX was my brainchild. A real-time product suggestion engine that adapted to human behavior patterns in milliseconds. I pitched it, I prototyped it, I led the dev team. For 2 years, it was my world. And then came Julian. He joined last fall. Tall, camera-friendly, all charm and buzzwords. On paper, he was just a product consultant, brought in to help scale our client strategy. In reality, he was a virus. The kind that smiles at you while quietly deleting your name from everything you've built. It started slow. He'd rephrase my ideas in meetings, sprinkle in some growth potential or scalable synergy nonsense, and suddenly the whole room was nodding like he was Moses come down from the mountain. At first, I didn't care. Let him have his moment, I thought. The work speaks for itself. But the work stopped speaking. One afternoon, I walked into a client pitch Julian was supposed to be co-presenting with me, and found him already mid-presentation. My slides, my diagrams, my build. But he never once said my name. Afterward, he clapped me on the back and said, "Great notes, man." The pitch flowed like butter. Note. It kept happening. Quiet changes to shared document. Slack messages left unread. Suddenly, I wasn't copied on investor update. And then came the final blow. Our CEO, Liz, called me into her office. Said it wasn't personal, just a strategic restructure. "Julian's taking point on NovaX," she said, sipping her turmeric smoothie like she hadn't just gutted me. "We want you focused on internal ops now. You're methodical, Emerson. We need that." Methodical. Like I was a filing cabinet with legs. That night, I sat in silence in our apartment off East 7th Street, the one I shared with my partner Celeste. She was curled up on the couch, reading, her hair twisted into a messy bun that always made her look like she belonged in a French film. "You okay?" she asked, not looking up. I didn't answer. I just stared at the reflection of myself in the darkened window, wondering when exactly I stopped existing in my own story. Because make no mistake, Julian didn't just steal my project. He stole the narrative, the recognition, the credit, the future promotions, and he thought I'd just sit there and take it. The next morning, I opened my laptop and logged into our staging server. Quietly, deliberately, I made a full copy of the NovaX backend. The one with the original development logs. The ones bearing my name. Julian had been playing politics. I had receipts. The day after that, I started watching him. Not in a creepy way. Not at first. I paid attention to who he talked to. Who laughed too loudly at his jokes. Who echoed his opinions in meetings. I built a mental map of his influence. I noticed his patterns. Julian always left 15 minutes after the rest of us on Wednesdays. Always parked in the back row of the garage. Always working late in the office, alone after we cleared out. That's when he updated his decks. Polished the work I'd done. Filed reports in the management drive under his name. I knew because one night I stayed behind and watched from the stairwell. He never saw me. He thought he had outmaneuvered me. That I was some background character in his success story. But I wasn't a footnote. I was the author. And I was about to rewrite the ending. The thing about betrayal in the workplace is that it rarely comes with a dramatic soundtrack. No knife in the back. Just a slow, quiet erasure. A misplaced file here. A skipped meeting invite there. Before you know it, you're a ghost in your own office. Julian had me cornered. Publicly, he was the future of Nexera. He bought espresso for the interns, laughed at every one of Liz's jokes, and dropped just enough thought leadership to keep investors circling. Privately, he was carving out a new throne and burying me under it. But what Julian didn't understand was this: I don't give up ground easily. Especially not ground I pave. So I began planning. Step 1. Retrieve every trace of my original work. I spent the next week combing through archived Sprint reports, GitHub commits, Jira threads. Anything with timestamps and authorship. I exported every changelog, screenshot every Slack discussion, copied every raw sketch file stored in the company cloud. When I was done, I had a 300-page dossier of proof, evidence that NovaX had been mine from day one. But I wasn't going to drop it on Liz's desk like some desperate whistleblower. No. This wasn't about winning an argument. This was about ruining a reputation. Step 2. I needed to find Julian's weak spot. The problem with people like Julian is that they move too fast. They get cocky. They stop checking for traps because they think the road is already theirs. And Julian? He was flying high. He had just landed us a demo slot at the Innovate Forward conference in San Francisco, a big-name tech summit packed with VCs and media. Nexera's first real spotlight. He was calling it his moment. Even told me that, in the break room one morning, holding a green smoothie like it was a trophy. Gotta look sharp for the cameras, he grinned, adjusting his blazer. This thing's going to change everything. I nodded. Smiled. You deserve it, man, I said. Break a leg. He didn't see the irony. What he didn't know was that the official demo build for NovaX, the version he had polished for the big reveal, was still running on a shared company server. And I still had access. So I built my own version. Identical UI. Identical transitions. But this one had something extra, an embedded changelog. A visual timeline of contributions. Every screen transition listed the original developer. Guess whose name showed up again and again? Mine. Every feature. Every core logic thread. Every innovation he was about to present on stage as his own traced right back to me. With proof. It was elegant, quiet, devastating. Now I just needed the perfect moment to flip the switch. It came faster than I expected. A week before the conference, I overheard Julian in the lounge, bragging to a junior dev about his birthday bash. Saturday night. Big invite-only thing. Warehouse loft downtown. DJs catering the whole vibe, he said, tapping his phone. CEO's coming. Couple of our investors too. Might even run a mini demo for fun. A private audience. His curated stage. The perfect storm. I texted Celeste that night. Going to need your help with something. Might be risky. Might also be satisfying as hell. She replied in under 5 seconds. I'm in. She always had a flair for drama. The plan was simple. While Julian played showman, I'd hijack his performance. Quietly. Surgically. I'd replace his demo with mine. Live, mid-event. Letting the entire room see the real story of NovaX unfold on screen. No confrontation. No yelling. Just the truth. Delivered like a scalpel. We had 5 days to get everything in place, and I'd never been more focused in my life. The night of the party, downtown Austin looked like it was dressed for a movie premiere. Neon, rooftop lights, valet lines. I parked 2 blocks away, wearing a fitted blazer I hadn't touched in months, and walked toward the converted warehouse on Red River Street where Julian's ego had taken physical form. Inside it was exactly what I expected, tech bro chic. Industrial beams, digital art projections, branded cocktail napkins with NovaX's logo etched in metallic blue. There was a bar near the entrance with a glowing sign that said, "One big idea. One big night." Subtle as a sledgehammer. I kept my head down, made eye contact with no one, and blended in with the early crowd. It was a mix of Nexera staff, investors, some local startup people, and influencers. Young, eager, camera-ready. Julian's tribe. He was already working the room. Laughing loudly, shaking hands like a senator, wearing a white button-down shirt open at the collar. The kind of guy who calls himself a visionary on LinkedIn. But he didn't see me. He wouldn't. Not yet. I spotted the AV station tucked along the back wall, an elevated table with a laptop, connected to a projector and the venue's massive LED display. A tech intern was setting up the slides for the surprise showcase Julian had planned for later in the evening. I slipped over just as she stepped away to adjust the lighting. My hands didn't shake. I had rehearsed this. I pulled out a USB stick from my inside pocket, inserted it, and waited for the file to load. NovaX_final.pptx replaced with NovaX_original_archive_Emerson.pptx. I didn't touch anything else. Didn't close a window. Didn't delete a thing. Just cued it for autoplay and walked away like I was refilling my drink. I found Celeste by the bar. She looked incredible, sharp black dress, lips painted a quiet threat. She leaned in and whispered, "Did you do it? It's done." She smiled without looking at me. "Then let's enjoy the show." 30 minutes passed. People laughed, mingled, toasted. I watched Julian pace behind the curtain of a makeshift stage, rehearsing in the reflection of a mirror someone had leaned against the wall. He wasn't nervous. He was euphoric. Then Liz took the mic. She gave her usual "so proud of our team" speech. Said a few words about growth, innovation, gratitude. Then she turned toward Julian with that practiced CEO smile. "And now, the man of the hour. The future of Nexera. Julian Rhodes." Applause. Cheers. The crowd turned to the stage. Julian stepped up like he owned the city. "Thank you, Liz. And thank you all for being here tonight. This means everything. Tonight, I want to give you a glimpse into something we believe will change the way businesses understand their customers." He clicked the remote. The screens lit up. The crowd quieted. And then, it began. The demo looked normal at first. Slick interface, smooth transitions. Then the first changelog appeared. In the bottom right corner, Feature Origin. Developed by E. Granger, March 2023. Julian hesitated. Clicked again. Next screen. Initial wireframe concept. E. Granger. Core algorithm design. E. Granger. A pause. The room was still. Click. Model training iteration logs. Authored by E. Granger. Front-end architecture. Co-built with A. Nguyen, E. Granger. I watched the blood drain from Julian's face. He clicked faster, trying to outrun the storm. But every slide pulled back the curtain a little more. Click. Demo build credit. Lead strategist. Emerson Granger. Filed May 2023. Patent application ID. Number 4473829. He froze. Someone near the front of the crowd whispered, "Wait. Wasn't that Emerson's?" Another voice. "Didn't he leave the project?" A third. Louder now. "Why isn't he on stage?" Julian stood there blinking, remote still in his hand, spotlight turning hotter by the second. Behind me, Celeste murmured, "Checkmate." I didn't smile. This wasn't the end. This was just the announcement. The moment the lights dimmed, Julian bolted from the stage. Not even an awkward exit, just a blur of panic in white linen and fear. He didn't look at anyone. He didn't have to. They were all already looking at me. I didn't make a speech. I didn't gloat. I just sipped my drink, nodded politely at the stunned silence, and let the weight of the truth do what truth does best. Settle in. People whispered. Some pointed. A few slowly connected the dots. Liz stood frozen near the bar, jaw tight, eyes tracking Julian's retreat like a hawk following a sinking balloon. Investors were murmuring in low, clipped tones. Phones were already out. By the time I left the party, quietly, unnoticed, the emails had begun. I got the first one that night at 11:14 p.m. Subject: "We need to talk." Liz. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a timestamp and a grenade. I waited. By the next morning, the bomb had gone off. I walked into the Nexera office at 8 o'clock sharp. First time I'd arrived early in week. The front desk girl looked up like she'd seen a ghost. "Morning, Emerson," she said, too brightly. "You're here." "Yep," I said and smiled. I passed Julian's empty desk. His water bottle still there. His notebook opened to a page filled with buzzwords and half-sketched diagrams. No laptop. No Julian. He didn't show up that day. He didn't show up the next. By the end of the week, word spread. Julian was taking a leave of absence. PR language for, he's cooked and we're buying time to clean it up. Meanwhile, I was invited to a meeting with the board. Not the CEO. The board. 8 people in a glass conference room with filtered water and a full breakfast spread. They asked polite, clipped questions. I answered calmly, backing every statement with documentation. When one of them said, "It's rare to see this level of internal sabotage go unchecked," I just folded my hands and said, "I trusted the wrong person. I've fixed that now." They nodded. They asked if I would consider retaking ownership of NovaX, with a formal promotion, a raise, and a public statement to clarify the confusion. I declined. Nicely. Then I asked for something else. A budget. A title change. A chance to build something new, from scratch, on my own terms, with a team I chose. They agreed by Monday. Julian tried to call me 3 days later. I didn't pick up. He sent a voice note. "You didn't have to do it like that, man. You embarrassed me. Publicly." I played it twice. Once to hear the panic. Once to savor the defeat. Then I deleted it. This wasn't about embarrassment. It was about justice. He climbed over me to take something I built with my hands, my nights, my blood. And I showed him, quietly, methodically, how far down he had to fall just to realize he never built anything at all. Celeste and I celebrated in our own way. No champagne. No parties. We went to a small diner in Hyde Park, the one where we'd eaten when I first started at Nexera, back when we couldn't afford guacamole or wine over $10. She raised a toast with her coffee mug. "To receipts," she said. I tapped mine against hers. "To patience. Because the truth is, some people play fast. Some people play loud. But the ones who play quiet, the ones who wait, watch, and calculate, they win. Always." Julian didn't go quietly. Narcissists rarely do. A week after the board meeting, he resurfaced. This time with a LinkedIn post that dripped with spin. Stepping away from Nexera to focus on personal growth and some exciting stealth mode ventures. Grateful for the memories, the lessons, and the innovation we built. Stay tuned. No mention of NovaX. No mention of me. Just that oily tone of a man rewriting history from the safety of spin. But it was too late for image control. The screenshots had circulated. So had the conference footage. Investors had questions. Journalists smelled blood. And Nexera's internal Slack channels, well, those were on fire. I could have left it there. Let the man disappear into whatever startup graveyard he crawled from. But something about that post, the way he called it, his innovation, the way he thanked no one, the way he claimed ownership of something I bled for, that told me he still didn't get it. So I gave him a final reminder. I logged into the admin portal of our original NovaX dev environment. Julian had set up a clone of our codebase on a private repo when he took over, his own sandbox, as he called it. I knew because, despite everything, he never revoked my access. Mistake. Inside the sandbox, I found exactly what I expected. Unfinished modules, misaligned datasets, broken API calls. He had no idea what he was doing. But what he did have were traces of our original work. Our backend logic. Our predictive engine core. All forked, renamed, and stripped of attribution. Except he missed one thing. A fingerprint. A short line of code I had embedded nearly a year earlier, during the first internal build. Half joke, half copyright flag. A tag that referenced my dev signature, hidden in the code's scaffolding. No one noticed it because it never triggered anything. Until now. I activated it with a simple command. It didn't break his repo. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't trying to sabotage. It just displayed a message, quietly, in the developer console when the code compiled. Original system architecture by E. Granger. Unauthorized replication logged. This build has been archived for review. That's all. Simple. Quiet. Devastating. Within 48 hours, the repo was pulled offline by Nexera's compliance team. Legal sent Julian a notice. Internal email threads confirmed it. He had breached protocol, used proprietary logic outside authorized channels. He tried to claim ignorance, blame an intern, spin it again. But this wasn't a PR problem anymore. It was liability. By the end of the week, Julian's stealth startup, Venture, had lost its domain registration, his angel investor walked, and the only headline about him read, Ex-Nexera exec faces IP probe following demo scandal. He deactivated his LinkedIn 3 days later. I never spoke to him again. Never needed to. Some people think revenge is loud. They picture yelling matches, broken glass, fists slamming into tables. But real revenge? It's quiet. It's paperwork, timestamp, code, control. It's the slow grind of consequences arriving exactly when the liar thinks they've outrun them. It's a message typed in a black console window that nobody sees but him, and the moment he realizes, too late, that someone was always watching. The kill switch wasn't to destroy him. It was to make sure he never forgot who built the system he tried to steal. And that, no matter what he says online, he lost. After Julian vanished from the company directory, Nexera did what every smart startup does when caught with egg on its face. They pivoted. There was no press release, no public apology, just a subtle rearrangement of names, responsibilities, and messaging. The NovaX project was rebranded internally NexAI Suite, they called it now. New name, same skeleton. But this time, every piece of documentation listed me first. Lead architect, Emerson Granger. Strategy and development lead. Co-founder, NexAI division. They offered me an executive title. I turned it down. What I asked for instead was a small, nimble team, 4 engineers, 2 UX designers, no fluff. I wanted quiet control. No politics. Just space to build. Liz agreed. I think, in her own way, she knew she owed me. Celeste and I took a few days off that winter. Our first real break in years. We went to Marfa. No laptops, no Slack, no strategy deck. Just open skies, red dust, and silence. One night, sitting outside under the stars, she asked me, "Was it worth it?" I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because it took me a second to put it into words. It wasn't about revenge, I said finally. Not really. It was about reminding myself that what I built mattered. That I mattered. She nodded, sipped her wine. That's enough, she said. And it was. Back in Austin, I got to work. Not on NovaX. On something newer. Cleaner. A system that learns not just from consumer patterns, but from human behavior, biases, blind spots, emotional trends. Something that could change the way people understand themselves. I called it Trace. Because every choice we make leaves one. A fingerprint. A trail. A line of legacy code buried somewhere, waiting to be found. Julian's trail ended in self-destruction. In borrowed ideas and fake smiles. In the illusion of brilliance with no foundation beneath it. Mine? It started here. In truth. In precision. In silence. No fanfare. No spotlights. Just work. Real work. Built from scratch, with no one else's fingerprints but mine. And in the end, that's the most satisfying revenge of all. You move forward. They disappear.